Hello, I just have to sew this blouse this week because all the daffodils and narcissi are out and I have 1940s silk. Look. Isn't it beautiful? Somebody started making it into a skirt, so I hope I'm going to have enough fabric for the blouse. So I'm going to make this pattern, which is such a pretty 1940s pattern, and in that this is a true vintage 1940s floral print, and it's spring and daffodil season. I thought it had to be done. So I'm up in the loft with my rather gorgeous daffodil fabric, and I don't know if there's going to be enough to cut out this blouse, but I set my heart on it. I'm sure all you fellow sewers know that if you just manage to eke out the garment you really want and there's just hardly a shred of fabric left, it's pretty satisfying, isn't it? I'm about to cut out, and I'm pleased to say everything fits. It was quite tricky getting the straight of grain right, so I'll show you, because the fabric had been cut out to make something or other before, so it wasn't a straight piece, but I think I've got it all laid out properly on the straight of grain, so I can just cut that out now. Just to remind you of the pattern, here it is, that the version that I'm doing, this one with the cute little turn-up cuffs, has lace around the top of the cuffs and down the front edge and around the collar. So I thought I'll have a look inside my linen closet for my box of vintage and antique lace and hope there's something that might work. This is a simple to make blouse. You begin by gathering up the top of the front bodice just between two little notches, and then the yoke piece is just turned under and then top stitched over the top of the bodice, and you can see the same thing on the other side with the bodice just gathered between two notches and then the yoke turned under and top stitched down. It still needs a bit of a press to lie flat, and then down the front of the blouse you gather up a strip of lace and stitch it to the front of the blouse on each side, and then the front strap is also turned under, all constructed so far with top stitching, and then that is placed over the lace on each side and top stitched down. The buttons that you can see on the front here are actually false buttons, so no buttonholes are required. It's a really easy blouse to sew. You just cut down the centre here to part way down, and then that edge is then finished with a bias strip. I thought I would have the perfect daffodil buttons. I do have some yellow daffodil buttons, but of course they weren't the same yellow. So I'm thinking that they're just clear glass vintage buttons. I think they will look really pretty down the front, and then once the top has been cut and has its bias strip, it'll just be joined with one button at the top with a thread loop, and that will be the fastening for the blouse. And then there's a collar. This very rarely happens to me with vintage patterns, but it's happened this time. I'm missing a pattern piece, and actually this pattern was sold to me specifically as complete. I'm missing the collar, and it's a very decorative scalloped collar, so it's going to be kind of quick and easy to replicate it, or replicate it as best that I can. So that's my collar cut out. I only had scraps of fabric left, so I've done my best with what I had, and of course I've got 2 of each side in order to face the collar, and I'll add some interfacing as well. So that will just be stitched to form the scallops right side to right side, and then turned out and stitched around the neckline to the blouse. And of course I've checked that the measurement of the neck corresponds to the measurement of the neck of the blouse. Oh, and I should also say, of course, that I'm doing this version, so I'm going to sandwich some gathered lace around the scallops of that collar, and hopefully, because of course I'm losing lace from my stash as well, I have just enough lace to gather up and then stitch it around the edges of the collar. And then for myself and for the next person, I shall write collar firmly on this piece. And the hem of the blouse is just simply finished by threading a piece of elastic through, so it will just floof out above the waist. And I just did that with the tried and tested technique of pulling a safety pin through the elastic, and then with those 2 ends I'm just going to stitch them together, and then I've got my elasticated hem, and I've got the collar on. The collar and all around the neck edge, that was just neatened with a strip of bias binding that also goes all the way down the front opening too. Yes, the directions are to put a little thread loop here and a button, but the reason that I've left it open is I have such a collection of vintage brooches, and that is the one, it's a glass one that I've decided on because it echoes those 3 glass buttons. I did have a look for Easter. I could wear my little bunny brooch, or a little violet basket of flowers will look pretty too. So really ideal blouse to show off brooches, but I'm just going to go with that little glass one today. Before I put on the blouse for the reveal, I just wanted to show you some of the details. So here it is, and you can see hopefully the glass buttons that I've positioned in 2 rows of 3, and they're just decorative. And I've got my lace trimmed front band and my lace trimmed scalloped collar and the elastic around the waistband, and I only actually had 1 length of elastic left, so I just put it in, and luckily it just seemed to be my waist circumference. And I put in a little pair of sleeve supports, and for the sleeves, you can see them there, I went my own way from the pattern because this might not be immediately obvious, but my sleeves are supposed to resemble little daffodil flower heads. You see it now. Basically I just put a gathered frill around. Do you see what I mean? Hopefully, like a little daffodil. To me, anyway. So, oh, and for the front, what they recommend is to put a little thread loop and a button. Now, I haven't done that. And that is because I have so many pretty little vintage brooches that I thought it's a perfect design to wear my vintage brooches. I thought I would just have fun choosing a vintage brooch to wear with this blouse. So I shall put it on now, and show it to you in the garden, but I also want to go out and start showing you my makes in one, picturesque places, but also so that you can see what they look like, you know, once they've been squashed up in the car, wind blown, rained on. Because I always think, don't you, you get ready to go out and look in the mirror and you look, you know, all right. And in your mind, you stay looking like that. And then you get home and you think, oh, skirts have developed large creases where you've sat down. Anything eye makeup wise has run a bit, hair's blown around, sleeves have crumpled. So I thought, I was like looking at those kind of street pictures of 1940s or 30s ladies or 20s ladies, kind of what they really look like, because you see the kind of glamorous photos and they look so perfect and glamorous, but you can't really imagine yourself, well, I can't imagine myself looking like them. And then you see the real women in the street and you think, actually, so I thought, as well as, or instead of, showing you my clothes all perfectly pressed 1 minute after I've put them on, I'd also show you them in action after they've been around a bit during the day. Because that's what we mainly look like, isn't it? Anyway, so get on with it. I'm going to show you my blouse now, but just to let you know, I'm wearing it with a grey scalloped waistband skirt, which I made a while ago. It's a 1930s pattern. It's an accident, but I just realised that the scalloped waistline and the scalloped hem of the skirt, they sort of look a bit daffodil shaped. Honestly, they do. Anyway, I shall let you judge for yourself. So I hope you enjoyed seeing me make my blouse. I must admit I really love this pattern and I want to make every version of it. Although I do like to wear dresses, there are some fabrics that either you just don't have enough for a dress or they're really pretty and fragile, and if you made a dress from them you just wouldn't be able to wear it that often. But with a little blouse, you can wear it really whenever you want to. You can wear it every day with a more hard-wearing skirt. I hope you enjoyed watching me make my daffodil blouse. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope you'll like this video. Bye!